name is Belle Menzie. I'm an editor and reviewer for Utah Theater Bloggers Association. I'm here with Chase Grant, professor of directing at Utah Valley University and the director of Wizard of Oz, the next show being produced at Sundance's outdoor amphitheater. Hi, Chase. Thanks so much for doing this interview with me.
Of course, thank you.
We're excited to be here. I wanted to start off this interview talking a little bit about the show you're directing in July, Wizard of Oz, and how you first became connected with the show and working on this production.
Yeah, well, UVU has had a pretty long partnership working with Sundance and producing their summer theater. And as the lecturer of directing in the department, I was kind of in a good position to be considered to direct for them. And I had the opportunity to perform at the summer festival last year in Newsies, so I got to play Pulitzer.
Yeah.
Good old, as I get grayer, I get older parts. But it was an incredible experience. It's a beautiful, beautiful venue. And I've commented since how I've performed all over the place. I've performed at the Globe in the UK, and it's one of my very favorite venues to perform at. There's something super magical about you kind of hike in from the parking lot, and it's a moderate hike, so
Yeah.
even folks like me can make it. But it's very transformative. You go through the trees, and all of a sudden you're in this beautiful outdoor amphitheater that's mountain backdrops and tall pine trees and quaking aspen. It's very it does a lot of the heavy work for you in terms of transporting. So being able to perform was a really great opportunity to get connected more, and then they asked me to direct Oz this year, which was a no-brainer. Of course I'll do it.
Yeah. So, talking about the outdoor kind of aspect of the process and of the space, how has that changed your directing style? I imagine everything else you've kind of done has been indoor mostly.
You know, interestingly, so my background is in Shakespeare. My degree is from the University of Exeter, and Shakespeare is famously an outdoor space. And my particular degree is about staging Shakespeare in all sorts of unconventional places. So my background actually lends itself to less traditional performance spaces. Although Wizard of Oz is a show that is easier to stage indoor because it's got a lot of different set locations, and typically you fly in set pieces and they don't need to be built to withstand outside.
Yeah.
So it's a challenging piece to stage outdoors, but we're excited about what we're doing to meet those challenges and produce it out in Sundance venue.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that connection that you made there. And speaking about Shakespeare versus Wizard of Oz, some people might see those as a little bit kind of like opposites on the spectrum, maybe.
Sure.
I don't know if you have any thoughts about how your background in Shakespeare has influenced.
Yeah, so interestingly, this particular version of Wizard of Oz, which is the one that's most produced, period, as a musical, was originally adapted by the Royal Shakespeare Company in England.
Oh.
So it was a 1989, late 80s production, and their whole concept was to take the film, the iconic film, and try to recreate it for the stage. So this adaptation, that's why it's most popular, because everyone loves the film version.
Yeah.
So this particular musical was originally conceived by Shakespeare people, premier Shakespeare company of the world, and you see it in the text. So a lot of the work that I do on heavier text like Shakespeare actually lends itself to this particular script because it was adapted by Shakespeare folks.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I would never have guessed that.
Of course, it does present challenges again in staging because the Royal Shakespeare Company is an incredible kind of leader in innovative new theater technology. They've got a massive, amazing indoor space, and when you look at the back of a program at the RSC where we have like sponsors that are Mountain America, theirs is Her Majesty the Queen. So they have a little. Sundance is incredible, but we're not quite. We don't quite get the patronage like that.
Yeah.
So that alone has been a unique thing to look at in terms of how do we make make this work in this space.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And speaking about adapting the movie kind of to the theater space, I've been thinking about the story of Wizard of Oz and how well known it is. And even with Wicked, and Wicked becoming more popular recently, with the movies coming out, how do those previous adaptations or stories affect the story that you're trying to tell?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I think makes a director important in modern theater is their concept. And so arriving at a concept for me involves a lot of research on the text itself and then on previous versions. We have a wonderful dramaturg, Dr. John Newman, who works at UVU, who's kind of the resident expert on all things Oz. So he's been a really great resource at showing us lots of different kinds of adaptations and the history behind it. But in terms of coming up with a concept, I did a lot of initially looking at it and thinking, this is going to be really, really hard to do at Sundance, because like I mentioned, lots of different set pieces, lots of different locations, and logistics are hard. We're up in a mountain, so building set, getting it up there. When I first was going through it and doing my preparation, I was like, I don't know how we're going to do this. But what happened is I kind of started to, instead of feeling like we can't do this, I started thinking about how can we leverage what's at Sundance and what makes Sundance special and merge that with what makes Wizard of Oz special. And so my concept revolved a lot around, instead of resisting what felt like challenges, leaning into them. So our design is very much about how do we make this particular version of Oz make sense in the mountains or make sense at Sundance. So a lot of our set design, our scenic design, our props, our costumes, there's sort of there's nods to the Sundance culture and the experience that you get when you go to Sundance. So it's going to be, what we found is that what we thought initially were going to be really big challenges actually opened the door to really innovative and really exciting staging solutions that I think are going to set this particular version of Oz very much apart from other productions that are even going around right now, and certainly in the past. So it's going to be Sundance's version of Oz, and we're very excited.
That sounds awesome. That sounds really cool. And speaking of Sundance, just in general, when I hear Sundance, normally I think of Sundance Film Festival.
Sure.
And I think it's really, really amazing how much Sundance does for all parts of like the arts community, including theater especially. And you just spoke a little bit about your experience with this, like the amphitheater part of it, but in general, working with Sundance, how has kind of your experience been with that?
You know, it's funny, I have some family that they're like diehard Sundance people. Like that's their fate. They love to go to Sundance and go to the different kind of the different cafes and restaurants that they have. And they're really, like Robert Redford was really onto something, because it's pretty unique place. It's not just a ski resort. It's not just Sundance Film Festival. It's kind of its own little land, which Oz, and and that's part of where that concept came from. Is that there's just something really unique about going to Sundance and sort of being in the mountain air, and you're like kind of in the woods, but it's really cozy, and that has been a big influence on how we want people to feel when they watch the show. It's sort of not just that you're, going to see a play, but you're going to like see the Sundanceification of Oz, which has been really cool. It's been really exciting to make that play nice with the text.
Yeah, I see it in you talking right now, and also on the show we worked on together a couple of years ago. Your directing style, I observed then, is very intentional and involved, especially with the students that you were working with. And I'm just wondering how that might have changed with the maybe wide variety of cast that you get in a production like Sundance.
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. I mean, it scales up. So, what if anything, I just have more help. I have amazing choreographers, Nathan and Susie Balzer, who are putting together some just incredible pieces of choreography. And we're kind of expanding aspects. So there's going to be some surprises for this. This won't just be the nostalgic version. You'll definitely, it's certainly Wizard of Oz, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to go see the show and wonder what show you see. The Tin Man's there. They're very much who they are. But the tweaks and the kind of additions that we're making to elevate the story are really exciting. So our choreography is really, really great. We might have a few more scarecrows in the scarecrow dance. That is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So there's things that are keeping it fresh without taking away what people are going to expect from Wizard of Oz. So it'll be your nostalgic Wizard of Oz with a lot of new fun things. So I think it'll be interesting to both veteran Ozians and like young kids that have maybe never even seen it. We are our music. I have a music director. So I just my team expands as a director when I do a bigger show like this, and it really just allows me to focus, really narrow in on the acting. So our singing and dancing I know are covered, and I can dive even deeper with the actors. And what we found is, I think because it was adapted by the RSC, there's more substance with the text that sort of stands up to the kind of exercises that I like to do, where we really dig into the text and kind of discover more than just the surface level meaning. And we found a lot of humor where I wasn't expecting like comedy to be, and a lot of opportunity for like some pretty heartfelt moments that are not just sort of sappy and sentimental, but are rooted in something that I think is deeper. And that's part of why the narrative, the core narrative, has persisted and enchanted people for so long. I mean, he originally wrote the story in 1900, and we're still doing adaptations of it because it's the themes at the core of the story are so universally interesting and timely.
Yeah, I love that answer. I just went and saw another production of The Woodsman, a different adaptation.
Oh, The Woodsman's great.
Right, there's so many different stories out there that all go back to these central themes. On that, kind of a funnier question for you. If there was any character in the Wizard of Oz musical that you would play yourself, which one would it be?
My age, it would be the Wizard at this point.
A dream role, though.
A dream role in Wizard of Oz? Well, yeah, probably the Wizard. The Wizard's got a pretty good track. Not quite as cushy as Pulitzer. Pulitzer, I got to show up for a scene and then go sit in the backstage for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But the Wizard's great, and he's the titular character. He is the Wizard, and we just actually did some character work with the Wizard, and kind of discovered that, you know, he is kind of a traveling snake oil salesman a little bit, but with a heart of gold. He's a really genuinely good person. And one of the best lines I think in the play is he says, Dorothy says, "You're a very bad man." He says, "I'm not a bad man. I'm just a very bad wizard." And I think that's great. That would be a lot of fun to play.
That's awesome.
But our wizard is better than I would do it. He's great.
Well, I think that's pretty much all that I have for you. Is there anything that you wanted to say that I maybe didn't get to?
Just that I think that if you've never made the hike up to go see a show at Sundance, this is definitely the one to go to. And if there's sort of the feeling like, Wizard of Oz is just a kid's show. It is a show that's aimed for children for sure. That's how Frank Baum wrote it. He was particularly interested in telling stories that were happy stories, especially given, you know, how sometimes fairy tales are dark, and they're cautionary tales to like keep little ones from lemming themselves out of existence. But Baum wrote Wizard of Oz specifically to be a happy story that children can turn to and feel good about. And I think that if we do our job right and we tell that part of the story truthfully, it resonates beyond just children, and it makes for a story that a really broad demographic can watch and enjoy, and that's why it's persisted for so long. So that's what we're aiming for. And it's outside. It's amazing. You literally watch the show as the sun sets, and then you're transported into a totally different place. It's amazing.
That sounds amazing. I'm very excited to go see
Yeah,
it.
I'm excited for you to see it too.
So yeah, it's running from July 17th to August 9th, right?
Yes.
I'll be there. Be sure to check it out.